Hello and welcome to the Way of the Illuminated Warrior Global Summit Series. My name is Waska and I'm happy to be hosting this series for you. Today I have a special guest and I know you're going to enjoy his words of wisdom. His name is Zat Baraka, and Zat is a men's deep inner work coach, teacher, writer, and speaker. His work is to support men to understand the mature masculine, not as an abstract philosophy, but as an embodied knowledge through living as an authentic, empowered, creative, and compassionate man. I like the sound of that. His training is extensive, and it includes over 20 years of intensive men's group work, cathartic deep inner work, men's rites of passage, and men's personal development work. Zat is the founder of the highly respected New Masculine program and men's wisdom work. Aside from his private coaching practice, he currently teaches an intimate relationship course at festivals, conferences, and leads men's groups internationally. So it's with great pleasure that I welcome Zat. How are you doing today, my brother?
Good. Thanks for having me, Waska.
Yeah, right on. So you have obviously a very wide and diverse arsenal of work that you're offering to men and to get the relationships improved and all that good stuff. So I want to ask you to start off with, like, where did you come from, in your younger days to really get you to manifest what you're doing right now? Because there had to be some kind of backstory that propelled you into doing this work.
Yeah, I think like most people, it comes through my own internal excavation, through my own challenges. I didn't grow up saying, I want to be a coach or a guide or a mentor or anything like that. So just through my own challenges, my own pain, my own suffering, and getting into the work myself, doing the work on myself, and staying committed to that. And then slowly, one thing led to another, and started serving people. So it started, through leading a group, and then leading another group, and then working with these guys, and then taking this training, and then it just continue to evolve to the place it is now, which is and has been my full-time dedicated work.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, they say, I'm sure you've heard the expression that, we as the wounded warriors, we're able to serve that much better because we've gone through a lot of these challenges and emotional experiences and the hurts and the traumas. So I'm going to ask you to get vulnerable, bro. And if you're comfortable with it, to dive a little bit deeper, because I've shared my story of, growing up in the alcoholic family and being like bullied at school, and even like religious bias that I suffered even in my own neighborhood and all. And I think it's helpful for the guys to hear those stories because we could relate to a lot more when we share that. So if you're cool with it, man, I'll ask you to touch upon that a little bit, just on your journey.
So I have 3 brothers. So I was raised with my 3 brothers and my mother and father, and my dad passed on what was passed on to him. He didn't have any training. He didn't have any understanding of how to work with his own fear and anger and confusion. And so, they were good parents. They did everything that good parents were supposed to do. And there was still a lineage transmission, if we could put it in some, new agey talk. There was a lineage transmission of anger and fear and shame. So lots of fighting, lots of anger, verbal. When you're 3, 4, 5 years old, and all the way through your teens, when you're around aggression. So I was around a lot of aggression, a lot of anger, a lot of screaming, and everything was handled through that way of relating, right? So there wasn't like conscious parenting happening, in terms of having a conversation with your kids about how you're feeling and how their behaviors affect you. There wasn't that going on. And so a lot of fear, a lot of anger, a lot of fighting. And so that was just brewed inside of me through all of my life, my young life, and then as a teenager. and all of that neurotic, unhealthy, toxic, poisonous behavior, of course, shows up in such a big way in relationship. That's the biggest mirror of where this stuff shows up. And so in my first major relationship when I was 19, and then subsequently getting married to that same woman, and then having all this tumultuous fighting and all the anger and all the aggression that was there, a lot of suffering, a lot of pain, a lot of confusion, and forced me to have to do something about it. Some people, they can keep living with it their whole life and stay, you get unhealthy, has a toll on your physical body and your emotional body. And so it was the aggression and anger, which was really the most intense thing. And then all of my brothers and we fought. I got in lots of fights when I was a kid, in junior high and high school, lots of physical fights, because that's how I was taught to deal with shame and fear and just feeling uncomfortable, aggression. Yeah. So that's really been the doorway to the work for me. And the work doesn't stop. We have our kind of our pathways. Our nervous system kind of gets entrained in a specific way, and you can heal a lot of the wounds. You can unwind a lot of the deep traumas that are imprinted, but kind of our habituations, our tendencies, they tend to stick around. Of course, I've learned how to work with them more skillfully and not be a victim to my reactivity. But the work is ongoing. It's ongoing, and it's because of the nervous system being entrained to respond in a certain way. You have to, I've had to learn practices to work with those on the spot every time they get activated: insecurity, fear, anger, that kind of thing. So,
yeah, those are great points, and thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable there. I mean, we're constantly in that state of fight, flight, or freeze. So it's so important for us to learn these techniques that are beneficial to de-stress and to be in a more symbiotic and equanimous state of being. I know for me, when I was younger, the way I dealt with a lot of the things I got into, first Tai Chi and Qigong and meditation and yoga and martial arts, and just meeting people to help me, on this path. And one of the books I really like to recommend, if you've read it also, it's a great book. It's because you were speaking about anger, which I had a lot of anger. It's called The Dance of Anger by Harriet Lerner. It's a really good book, a lot of good techniques in there. So yeah, I mean, I could relate to your story. I'm sure you could relate to mine. And so many guys have gone through such similar things that that the work that we're putting out there is so vital. So I want to touch upon that. You're doing some pretty amazing work out there in the world, helping guys to really find their true calling and to de-stress and to do all these things to balance and find healing. And also, what would you like to share with the audience in the work that you're doing that would be practical for them?
Practical.
Practical.
Well, I mean, the first thing is if you're suffering, and then that's a big word it's not a word that guys generally use, but it's the reality. We all suffer. All human beings suffer, right? That's one of the first Four Noble Truths in Buddhism. All life is suffering, not from a place of we're a victim to life, but being in a human body and having psychology. There's a thing called karma, or there's a thing called habituation. That we get through our family line, through our epigenetics, and that's passed through our social conditioning, cultural conditioning. So we all suffer, and if you suffer, you can't get out of suffering unless you actually do something about it.
Yeah.
So you have to take action. You have to have a desire. I mean, this is like the first teaching that I got when I found my first teacher was, you have to increase your desire for growth. You have to increase your longing for growth. If you It's not just saying, because a lot of guys say, well, I don't really think about it. I don't really want it. Well, if it's not something you really want, then your first point of focus is to increase your longing, or we could say increase your desire. Let me put it this way. The prayer is something like this. I pray that my longing for growth would be the greatest desire that I have. I pray that my longing for growth would be the greatest desire, because if your longing for growth is your greatest desire before everything else, that's going to provide you with it's going to provide you with the fuel or the energy to make the changes that you need inside of yourself that can have ripple effects everywhere, with your family, in your finances, in your work, in your purpose, in your profession, in your sex life, in your parenting, in your friendships. And just walking down the street in the world, it affects how you feel inside of yourself. So actually increasing your longing for growth is a great place to start for guys that either they don't know where to begin, they don't really know what to do, or they've been procrastinating, they're stuck in their habits and their patterns. If you can just start with that wish, we know the power of intention is extremely potent. So if you can set an intention to increase your longing for growth, it gives you the fuel to carry on even when you're in the midst of great challenge. Because what most people do, right, is when they have a challenge, most guys, they go into the intellect and they try to figure out some solution, right? Our monofocus goal orientation. If you go way, 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 way down beneath that, if you're faced with challenge and you just tune into my desire for growth to increase, my desire for growth to increase, that can immediately drop you into a better connection with yourself that helps take you out of your mind and oftentimes will help you to attract the people and situations in your life that will improve your life.
Yeah.
So the power of intention. So that's a good practical first approach.
Yeah.
And even for guys that have been on the path forever, it's very easy to just get sucked into your old ways of dealing with things.
Yeah, our ego likes to keep us in those old ways. Yeah.
So that's a beautiful and potent teaching that was the first one I received. I pray that my longing for growth would be the greatest desire that I have in my life.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. That's powerful, and it's like you're talking about intentions and all. Yes, it's really, we have to set that intention. And I always say, like, change is inevitable. I mean, that's the one thing we could count on. I mean, change is constant. It's inevitable. And growth is optional. It really is. We have to have that awareness and set that intention, like you're saying, and choose to do something to grow on our path. And just like I tell all the guys that I work with, just like I've told my 3 sons, yes, there's challenges, and the challenges are great opportunities for growth. Because otherwise, really, if life was just like sing song, we just, flow through it, we really wouldn't. Why would we even bother growing, right? We would just kick back and just enjoy and say, this is wonderful, but that's not the way it was designed. So,
I mean, I always say a pretty simple, like, what's the alternative? If you're not doing something to help shift yourself and grow yourself, what's the alternative? Well, the alternative is to keep doing your perfect system, meaning your habituation, your neurosis, your fear, your anger, your shame. That's the alternative to doing something about it. And that's not very inviting.
No, it's not. But yet, look how often that's what so many of us wind up doing, right? That we just stay in the same patterns and the same stories over and over and over again, and nothing shifts because, as you're saying, we didn't set that intention. We don't have that awareness, and we're not growing. We're not making that conscious effort and choice to do something about it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's this idea in Buddhism called the 3 jewels. Mm-hmm. And the 3 jewels are the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And if we put it in just everyday language, it said if you have these 3 things, it could really help you on your path. So the first thing is, in the traditional teaching, is the Buddha, which we could say in personal growth terms is symbolic of a teacher, a guide, a facilitator, a mentor, something of that nature. Having that in your life is extremely powerful. Most guys don't even know where to begin. There's plenty of people out there that you could find on the internet. Obviously there's a lot of people that are not great, but hopefully through this summit, you have some great mentors, teachers, guides, facilitators that can help people. The second thing you have to have is the Dharma, which we could say is the teachings. You have to receive new information. Obviously, there's guys here receiving new information. You have to read, you have to take in new content and digest it to help it. And that helps you to have a greater understanding of what you're going through. So some facilitator, guide, mentor, or coach, receive new information, receive new teachings. And then the third jewel is Sangha, which is probably one of the most important for men, and we could say that's community. So that's why men's groups are so potent and so powerful, because you get to be with other men that you've given permission to give you feedback on your own bullshit.
Yeah.
So having some kind of teacher, guide, mentor, facilitator, supporter that it's different than just commiserating with the bro who may not have any training or any deeper understanding. Oh man, my wife did this thing. Oh, that's so lame, man. Not really. Commiseration is really not what we need. We need someone that has some level of insight that they can support you with. Get new information, get new teachings. And then the third thing is to have some success on the path, it's really critical to have some kind of conscious community or some kind of group of people, men's group. It's extremely beneficial. So
yeah, thank you for those words.
Yeah.
Because that really is so important. I mean, I know in my life, I was a lone wolf for a very long time, and I still revert back to that at times, because I just, whatever it was, the perfectionism or just, losing faith in people or myself, whatever it was, I referred back to that way of being, and it just does not serve me, and it's not fun.
We all do.
Yeah.
We all do that,
Yeah.
It's called the go it alone syndrome.
Yeah.
And even like right now, there's a lot of stuff moving I'm launching a new organization, and there's a lot of stuff happening. And so I felt some stress. I picked up the phone to call a friend that I know there's an open doorway there anytime, just to even have 5 minutes of someone hearing my frustration can help to decrease it. And again, it's different sharing it with someone that doesn't have much personal growth insight. It's a lot more beneficial if you have someone that's done some work on themselves.
Yeah, we could relate that much more, and it is that much more helpful. And a lot of the people that I've interviewed, like, I don't know if you saw, or for those who saw, like the interview with Stephen Dinan. I mean, I really respect the guy. He's a big influencer. And I asked him, I said, I don't know you that well, but from my perception, you're out there doing all this wonderful work and all, you're surrounded by so many people, and you interact with so many people. And he said, yeah, that's the perception that I give people. But he too, he goes to the lone wolf thing. He's like, so many times I just want to be in my own little world, and that doesn't serve him either. So it's, we all need that community, like you're saying, and mentorship and growth and new opportunities, like you're saying, the Dharma, the Buddha, and the Sangha. I mean, it really is so important to have that. So, I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's.
So yeah, I'll say right here, you can just send me an email. You can email zat@zatbaraka.com, zat@zatbaraka. Even taking one little action like that can affect a massive shift in your life. Sometimes all it takes is this one little insight within yourself, about yourself, that can create a ripple effect in your life. So any men watching that are in a place where there's a lot going on for you, there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of suffering that's happening, get some support in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to get to that, but also obviously the work that Zat's doing, like globally, is really incredible. So his information will be on the page that you receive with this video, and you'll be able to reach out to him as well. And just like he's saying, we're not here pushing anything. We're here offering, ways of being and services to be in service to you guys. Because it really is that important. I mean, ask yourself, are you happy right now? Are you feeling healthy? Are you feeling whole? And that's the work, that guys like Zat and myself and others are doing, because this is our calling. We want to be in service, and we offer these ways of being to help and to heal.
Let me add one other thing too, and that is that it's also not only about you men needing to fix themselves, needing to be healed. So one of my kind of core things that's important for me is to create leaders. I didn't have anyone in my life that built me as a leader. I had to go through all my own trials and tribulations and fear and stress and pressure, and I had to go through all that by myself. And so sometimes men come into the work not necessarily through the frame of, oh, I need to be healed, because I don't really bill myself or not bill myself, brand myself as a healer. That's not really what I do. My main work is to help men be men of impact on the planet through being leaders. And the natural process of a man becoming a leader, fulfilling his purpose in some form, is of course your own refinement. Processing your own stuff, your own chunks of stuff, right? And so if you're a guy that necessarily doesn't have that framework, like, oh, I need healing, maybe you're a guy who's not fulfilling you're not sharing your gifts, your skills, your talents with the world. You want to have more significance on the planet. You want to have more impact. You want to fulfill your purpose on the planet. It's the same thing though. You're doing the same kind of inner work to make that happen. You're just doing it through a little bit of maybe a different frame rather than the healing frame.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That's a very good point, Zat. Yeah. So in your experience in the work that you do, because I'm sure you've worked with a lot of guys with a lot of different, I'll say issues for lack of a better word, or challenges or blockages. If you were to give, and this is a general question, I understand, if you were to give guys like one bit of advice, like just to get out of their own BS, and to move forward, like what would you say was one of the?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot, bro. I know.
There's a different frame from the lens of general personal and spiritual growth for human beings, men and women, or people that maybe don't even have a gender identity. There's a different frame from having that general personal and spiritual growth frame than they're doing men's work. So men's work is a different beast altogether. Yes, of course, it's the same foundational thing that we're trying to achieve. But learning about deconstructing all the programming around what it means to be a man, what masculinity is, how you have to be living up to some kind of ideal. So coming into men's work is a different thing than just coming into personal growth work. Like if you were to read a Wayne Dyer book, or if you were to read a Tony Robbins book around, high performance or power of intention, all that stuff's amazing. And it's really critical to do and to understand all these different, teachings. But doing men's work is a really critical piece. So understanding your own programming of, from your father, or maybe if you didn't have a father, that's still a father programming, not having a present father. One of the places I think is a really big area for men to look at is this thing around needing to feel significant, needing to feel important in the world, needing to be respected. And that comes into the frame of purpose, right? Have you talked about purpose yet with anyone in your summit?
Yeah. Yes, it's definitely something that we like to bring up. So yeah, if you want to speak to finding your purpose and fulfilling your purpose, sure.
It's just, it's an important thing for any human being, but especially men, because of how we are biologically created, how most men generally work, how our nervous systems are created, different than women. Men have this kind of way of relating through linearity, through logicality, through monofocus. And so if you have a purpose that you're working towards and you apply it there, it having your underlying purpose in which you're serving the greater good for more people, it gives men more confidence just in life in general. It helps you in your relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a really important thing. And for men that don't have a purpose, that's, I run into a lot of guys that have this challenge. Maybe they're finance bankers, or they're attorneys, or they're maybe even doctors, but they're not really aligned with the work that they're doing as their purpose. It's a really important area to start to bring some awareness to. If you're a guy who doesn't have an idea of what your purpose is, then perhaps your purpose right now is to allow that to be revealed to you, what your purpose is. Because if you feel in alignment with your purpose, as opposed to being a robot and going to work every day just to bring money home so that you can pay your mortgage, pay for your boat payment, your car payment, not very fulfilling. But if you have something that's feeding you on a deep level, that can affect you in all areas of your life, your personal confidence, your relationship.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up, Zat. It's so important. And, with my 3 boys, that's what I've been telling them since they're, this big, to don't necessarily focus so much on making money. Yes, money's important. You need to make money and all, but find your purpose, find what you love to do, because you'll be doing it all day long. And then you'll figure out how to turn that into a way of making money and revenue and all that. So that's so important. And I love your answer. I love the way this is a good example. So I put you on the spot. Okay. So this is the kind of thing we're talking about, guys who are watching this. I threw Zat a question that, was out of left field, so to speak. And this is where leadership comes in. Okay. He used it, from what my experience was, he uses intuition, he uses wisdom, and he shared with you an answer to the question that I asked him, not just because I threw a question at him that he wasn't ready for, because this is what leaders do. So this is how we roll. So thank you for that, Zat.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right on. So let me ask you, because you shared with some of your challenges growing up. Obviously, you evolved into doing this beautiful men's work that's helping a lot of others. So for yourself, what do you find that you'd like to share, either daily practices or just regular practices that you find bring you into that space of peace and grounding and finding your true purpose on a regular basis?
Yeah, there's so many different places that I work in my own personal practice, and when I work with men. So of course, having we could say there's different approaches, right? We could say one approach is a deep inner work approach.
Yeah.
Meaning you're working maybe through we'll call it the lens of a therapeutic application. So if you wake up in the morning and you are filled with stress, or you have that fear knot that just comes in the morning that you've had your whole life, insecurity, fear, or maybe it's shame, self-judgment because you don't make the money you want, or you don't have the wife and the kids or the partner that whatever it is, we all tend to wake up with some kind of emotional state in us. One way we could approach it is through a deep inner work approach, or we could say a therapeutic approach. And this is about applying some sort of healing application, we could say. And so one simple thing I do is I do some body movement practice, getting in touch with what emotion is present in my body. So right now, well, in the morning, what I would do is I would sit in my practice area, take a moment, and we can do it right now. Just come into your body awareness. So what I ask guys to do is just bring your awareness and scan down your body, seeing what is present for you in your body. This is the first part of emotional mastery or emotional literacy, is having a sensitivity to what emotion is present inside of your body. If you don't have awareness of that, then it'll just run you. It'll just run your whole day. So I get present in my body. Okay, I have some fear right now in my gut, and I have some shame in my chest. So I'll do that in the morning, and then I'll do some sort of therapeutic or deep inner work process, whether that's moving my body, letting the fear move through my body, I'll do some cathartic journaling practice where I'll just let fear, shame, or anger out through my arm, down through my pen onto the paper. I won't think about it. I'll just let my hand scribble the emotion, emote through the feeling down my arm, through the paper, through the pen onto the paper. Or I'll put some music on. I'll just move my body to let the emotion move through my body. Again, what's the alternative? Be unconscious to it, be unaware of it, and let it sort of run my day unconsciously. And it colors every interaction I have, or even if I'm not interacting with someone, how I'm relating to myself on my computer through the day, right? So that's one simple thing you can do, and that would be in the realm of inner work. The second approach would be some kind of, we could say, energy approach or yogic approach, and that would be doing some deep breath, some sort of deep breathing. We could say that it would be something working the realms of focus or concentration or intention setting or visioning, right? So that's more in the energetic realms. So we have something that has to do with your emotions and something internal. The second thing is something to do with concentration or intention or breath, so strengthening our nervous system. And then the third thing is, of course, even if it's only 5 minutes a day, some connection to whatever it is you connect with spiritually. So closing your eyes, coming into silence, coming into your heart, coming into contact with the universe, with Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it, God, Great Spirit. Or if you're a person that doesn't necessarily have a connection to something like that, it could just be to all-pervading intelligence, the intelligence of the universe. So coming into, even if it's, like I said, 5 minutes of silent sitting, connecting the spirit. So those are 3 different approaches to morning practice. Something kind of cathartic, we could say, something to do with energy or focus or intention or prayer or visioning. And then the third piece is, we could say, is just connecting to greater consciousness or to the universe. And you could do 5, 5, and 5. You can take 15 minutes and do those 3 things. 5 minutes of journaling or 5 minutes of moving energy through your body. 5 minutes of intention setting or visioning or breath. And then 5 minutes of connecting to something greater than yourself.
Awesome.
15 minutes, guys. Yeah.
Yeah. 15 minutes, could save you. I'm thinking of the Geico commercial. I won't plug that now.
Don't do it.
Sorry. And I don't even watch TV, but in all seriousness, you're absolutely right. 15 minutes could make a huge, huge difference, and save you. The commercial will be, it'll save you stress and angst. That 15 minutes is a beautiful suggestions of a way to go. And I do all those practices myself, so I will speak to that. Yes, beautiful, beautiful suggestions there. Yeah, yeah. So guys, you see the type of things that that my brother here is offering. And speaking of offering, Zat has got a very generous gift that he'd like to offer the viewers. So if you would like to share what that is, I appreciate that.
For guys that are interested in coaching, it's pretty standard practice that we have a conversation before. And so that's the offer. If you're someone that wants to see what having a coach, someone to be there, help you move through a powerful journey for a set amount of time, we get on the phone and we spend a couple hours on the phone looking what's challenging for you. So we'll give you a link. They can click on the link and we can get on the phone for a couple hours. But it really is for guys that have a serious interest in going on, on an intensive training journey. It's pretty potent work. Guys see major changes in their life. And, it's an interesting thing because most of the guys that I tend to come into contact with are guys that want to, in some way, shape, or form, be doing this work in themselves, in the world, like helping others. And so I especially love talking to guys that have an interest in having an impact in the world.
Yeah, beautiful. That's awesome. Yeah, thank you for that, Zat. So that's a very valuable gift. Zat's offering his time and his expertise, so take advantage of that. The link will be below this video when you receive it. So so this has been quite awesome, quite enlightening. So before we wrap up, is there anything left unsaid that you'd like to share? Any parting words that you'd like to share with our audience?
Just get in a men's group if you're not already. If you are in a men's group and it's not really feeding you, This is an important thing. There's different kinds of men's groups. If you're in a men's group that's not really feeding you or giving you the thing that is allowing you to affect some real change, maybe seek out another one. I have online men's groups, we have online men's programs, and we have in-person stuff. So there's many different types of men's groups, but if you're in a men's group that has someone that is highly trained in facilitation, it's a pretty potent thing. It's different than just being in a men's support group, right? Where you just sit around, and that's really lovely too, to be with other bros.
Yeah.
But deep inner work men's group can really affect some profound change in your life. And so that's the big thing, is be around other men, be around other men on the path, get in a group, seek it out online, find something that really speaks to you.
Yeah, I'll hold to that. Yeah, good words of wisdom there, my friend. So I want to thank you, Zat, for taking the time today.
Thank you, Oscar. Yeah, thanks for doing this.
Vulnerable and sharing your wisdom and all. And I'm sure a lot of people will, if they're smart, will take the free gift link and run with that. So thank you again, bro.
All right, have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.
Yeah. So I hope everybody enjoyed our time today with Zat, and I invite you to continue to walk your path with love and kindness. Until next time.